Omakyanatimanasya Snakya Sakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Zigurvena Chichitayamanokstam Stapitam Yena Bhutleshvam Kadamyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeyam Siyo Shiyuda Padkamanam Siyon Vaishnavamsa Sirupam Jagajatam Sakan Ragnatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savdutam Parjanasaitam Shri Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagalita Shivshakam Vitamsha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinu Bandha Chiratpate Gopesha Gopakanta Radhakanta Namastate Tapta Kansana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshri Vishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamama Haripriya Pancha Kalpa Vishakri Pasinve Visha Padmam Pavanabhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavan Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vistaya Bhutali Shrimati Bhaktivedanta Swati Namani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharini Nirvishesha Sunyavadi Paskachai Dasatani. So, I just the class, Srimad Bhagavatam class with the devotees in D-Land, in Alachua. There it was morning. Now we are going. Most of you are probably in India. That is the evening now. And we will discuss or finalize our discussion today on chapter 24, the renunciation of Kardama Muni of the third canto. And we heard before how Kardama Muni replied to devotee, replied to her request to give her liberation because she was suffering so much from agitation of the senses, and she expressed that she enjoyed for many years with Kardama Muni traveling all over the universe, but she felt now a little embarrassed that she did not take advantage of Kardama Muni, who could grant him liberation. So, but then, yes, Kardama Muni replies, don't worry, because of your devotional inclination, the Supreme Lord, as Kapila Muni, will appear from your womb and will instruct you in Sankhya Yoga, how to liberate yourself from the entanglement in fruitive activities in this material world. And then Kapila Muni appeared, but then before Lord Brahma visited, and Lord Brahma praised the daughters of Kardama Muni, and he's asking Kardama Muni to hand over his daughters to 9 sages so that they can help with the procuration of with the population of the universe. And then after that, Kardama Muni is approaching the Lord in a secluded place and is offering prayers. And today we will continue hearing these prayers. And at the end of his prayers, Kardama Muni will make a request to take Vanaprastha sannyas wander about and fix his mind, while he's fixing his mind on the Supreme Lord. Now in that last section that we will discuss here, Canto 3, chapter 24, from text 31 till the last verse, which is text 47. There are a few points of attention in this verse, and I will mention them. And now, so this is the section we are discussing. That's chapter 25. That is here. We will hear that Kardama Muni left his home to find God in his heart, although he just appeared as his son, so why is he leaving? So that's an important question. That there are many points to make of that. I just mentioned one point on the screen here, but that's not the complete answer. And then at the end, it's important because Kardama Muni attained perfection. What did he do to attain that level of perfection? What were his practices? That we will also discuss that point. So these are two important points which for you to consider while we are going to this part of the Bhagavatam. But we will now start with text 31. Is on the screen now. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Tanyevate Bhupani Rupani Bhagavam Statava Yani Yani Saruchante Svachananam Arupinaha. Can someone read, please, the translation?
I can read Maharaj.
Please do.
My dear Lord, although you have no material form, you have your own innumerable forms. They are truly your transcendental forms, which are pleasing to your devotees.
So yes, Srila Prabhupada writes, when we say Krishna, we refer to all forms of Krishna, not only Krishna, but also Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Narayan, etc. Yes, that's the Lord has no material form, but he has spiritually transcendental forms and multiforms, many forms. It's in the Brahma Samhita. There are Ramadi Murchi Kaleni, don't remember, but the Brahma Samhita says there are as much as incarnations as there are waves in the ocean. So there are innumerable incarnations that and the Mayavadi philosophers, the impersonalists, they cannot understand these transcendental forms, and they are disappointed. They say the Lord is impersonal. But the real conclusion is that the Lord has no material form. So if we hear in the Vedas, arupya means no material form. But yet, according to the liking of different grades of devotees, he manifests and he exists in multi-forms, such as Ram, Nrsimha, Varaha, Narayan, Mukunda. So there are many thousands and thousands of forms, but they are all Vishnu Tattva. They are all Krishna. That text 32. Tvam suribis tatva bubutsayada sada bivadharanapada Asvarya varahyo yaso vabuddha Vyashyaportam aham papache. Can someone read the translation, please?
Hare Krishna. My dear Lord, your lotus feet are the reservoir that always deserves to receive worshipful homage from all great sages, eager to understand the absolute truth. You are full in opulence, renunciation, transcendental fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty, and therefore I surrender myself unto your lotus feet.
So this verse, or the purport of this verse, explains why we should surrender unto the Lord's lotus feet. Can someone read the purport, please? It's short.
Actually, those who are searching after the absolute truth must take shelter of the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and worship Him. In Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna advised Arjuna many times to surrender unto Him, especially at the end of the 9th chapter, Manmana Bhava Manbhakta. If you want to be perfect, just always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your obeisances to me. In this way you will understand me, the personality of Godhead, and ultimately you will come back to me, back to Godhead, back home. Why is it so? The Lord is always full in 6 opulences, as mentioned herein: wealth, renunciation, fame, knowledge, strength, and beauty. The word purtam means in full. No one can claim that all wealth belongs to him, but Krishna can claim it, since he has full wealth. Similarly, he is full in knowledge, renunciation, strength, and beauty. He is full in everything, and no one can surpass him. Another one of Krishna's names is Asamatva, which means that no one is equal to or greater than him.
Well, that's a good reason to surrender to Krishna, to no one else. Text 33. Param pradhanam purusham mahantam kalam kavintri vritam lokapalam atmanubhutyanugata papancham svachanta saktim kapilam papache. Can someone read the translation, please?
I surrender unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, descended in the form of Kapila, who is independently powerful and transcendental, who is the Supreme Person and the Lord of the sum total of matter and the element of time, who is the fully cognizant maintainer of all the universes under the free modes of material nature, and who absorbs the material manifestations after their dissolution.
Thank you. So, in the purport, Srila Prabhupada mentions so many characteristics of the Supreme Lord. On each of these characteristics, we can spend one or more Bhagavatam classes. But I just mentioned the main which he is referring to in the purport. He says the Lord is Sarva Karana Karanam, is the cause of all causes, the original person. So Sarva Karana Karanam. That's Srila Prabhupada said, yes, the cause of this body is our Father, and the cause of his body is his Father, and so on. And if you go back and you keep on going back, then the original is Krishna. that is the cause of all causes. The Adi Purush, the original person, is Purusham, the original person, is the time element, Kala, Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Kalasmin, I'm Kala, the all-devouring time. My mission is to come and to devour everyone in this world, to kill everyone through this time element. And everyone will be killed by this time element. Is all cognitions, Svarat, no, it is all cognizant that as Sanmadi Asya Yatum Vitaratus Satis Abhya Svarat, Abhya, all cognizant. Yes. He knows everything, past, present and future. He says that also in Bhagavad Gita, that the three modes, Srila Prabhupada said, are the Lord's energy. Is Nitya Nityananam, is the maintainer of all living entities. And that is in our heart, maintaining this body. Right now. Svachanta Sakti is not depending on others. We are depending on so many things, even for this body, on the air, on the light, on food, so many things. But the Lord is not dependent on anything. So the personality of God, it is absolute. There is no one higher or equal to Him. So there's also in Bhagavad Gita, no one Parataram Nanyat Kinshidasti Dhananjana. That's also in Bhagavad Gita. No one can excel me, Krishna says. There's no one higher or equal to him. So the Lord appeared now as the son of Kardama Muni. Yeah. So whatever form the Lord appears in the material world, it's a manifestation, we have heard, of his Svamaya or his Atma Maya, his eternal energy. He appears in his own spiritual potency, not in the material world really. He appears to have a material body, but this body is not material. But Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Avajanam Timamutam Manusham Tanum Ashritam. The fools, they deride him, thinking that he has a material body, but this body is not material. That the Lord manifests his spiritual form, and he exists in that spiritual form, in the spiritual world. 34. Asma bipritshedyapatim prajanam Tvayavatirnana utaptakama Parivacham padavim astitoham Sarishyetvam riddhiyonyan vishoka. Can someone read the translation, please?
I'll read.
Please.
Today I have something to ask from you. You are the Lord of all living entities. Since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my father, since I have now been liberated by you from my debts to my father, and since all my desires are fulfilled, I wish to accept the order of an itinerant mendicant. Renouncing this family life, I wish to wander about, free from lamentation, thinking always of you in my heart.
So here we have this point, that desire of Kardama Muni. He's sitting there and he's speaking to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he's telling him, I want to leave, renounce everything, and just wandering about and always thinking about you in my heart. So why should he do that? So that's Yeah, that was 34. Yeah, we will hear about that more in text 35. But actually, Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport here, actually sannyas or renunciation of material household life necessitates complete absorption in Krishna consciousness and immersion in the self. A sannyasi is proud that he is always thinking of Krishna within himself. That's factually a sannyas. Sannyas means living in a relationship with Krishna. That's the important point. That is sannyas. Always living in a relationship with Krishna, thinking of Krishna within himself. The purport Srila Prabhupada speaks about two kinds of devotees. It's good to remember that. You have the Gosti Ananda and the Atmananda. Two kinds of devotees. The Gosti Ananda are the preachers, and they have many followers for preaching. They engage in missionary activities. They want to spread Krishna consciousness, and they live for that, the Gosti Anandas. But you have also the Atmanandi, or the self-satisfied. They do not take the risk of preaching work. They remain all just. They want to remain just alone. They want to remain alone with God in the heart. So Kardama Muni was not a Gosti Ananda. It was an Atmanandi, Srila Prabhupada explains. So he was in this classification, Atmanandi. He wanted to be free and remain alone within his heart with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. But he wanted to become a Parivraja. And Parivraja means itinerant mendicant, one who wanders around. That a mendicant sannyasi should not live anywhere for more than 3 days. That 3 days. But of course, that's in the material world. A sannyasi can't stay for longer in a temple. That's transcendental, that's a different. But in the material world, not more than 3 days. He must always be moving, because it's duty to move from door to enlighten people about Krishna consciousness. So, but why is he asking for that? The answer will be in the purport of the next verse. This question we raised in the beginning, and how to explain this astounding fact that Kardama Muni left home to find God, although the Lord had just appeared as his son. That we will hear now in text 35. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Maya Puktam Milokasya Pramanam Satya Laukike Artajani Maya Tubhyam Yat Avocham Ritam Mune. Can someone read the translation and only the first paragraph of the purport, which is on the screen?
Okay. The personality of Godhead Kapila said, "Whatever I speak, whether directly or in the scriptures, is authoritative in all respects for the people of the world. O Muni, because I told you before that I would become your son, I have descended to fulfill this truth." Purport. Kardama Muni was to leave his family life to completely engage in the service of the Lord. But since he knew that the Lord himself, as Kapila, had taken birth in his home as his own son, why was he preparing to leave home to search out self-realization or God-realization. God himself was present in his home. Why should he leave home? Such a question might certainly arise. But here it is said that whatever is spoken in the Vedas and whatever is practiced in accordance with the injunctions of the Vedas is to be accepted as authoritative in society. Vedic authority says that a householder must leave home after his 50th year. Panchas Sordvam Vanam Vrajet. One must leave his family life and enter the forest after the age of 50. This is an authoritative statement of the Vedas based on the division of social life into 4 departments of activity: brahmacharya, grihastha, vanaprastha, and sannyas.
Thank you, Pulastya Muni Prabhu. Yes, although he had the Supreme Personality of Godhead as his son, he had to respect the authority of the Vedas. It's not spiritual life starts with following the scriptures, which are the words of Krishna. It's not that because your son appears, you don't have to follow it anymore. No, then surely you should follow. So he had to respect the authority of the Vedas, and the Vedas prescribed that when the children are grown up, you have to take vanaprastha and prepare for the end of life, to be in the last stage of your life, to be more spiritually absorbed, so that you can always think of Krishna continuously. So even if God is in your home, he had to respect the authority of the Veda, and still he should follow the Vedic injunction. So that's a very important principle in our spiritual life. Majana yena gatasa panta. We should traverse the path which is followed by great personalities. So we follow the Mahajans, because we have in the 6th canto, of course, there we have the Yamaraj mentions the 12 Mahajans: Svayambhu, Narada, Swambhu, Kumara, Kapalomunu, Palada, Sanako, Vishnu, Bala, Vaya, Sakirvam, Lord Brahma. Lord Brahma is in our disciplic succession, is the first one after Krishna. Then Bhagavan Narada is the next one in our disciplic succession. And this means Lord Shiva, 4 Kumars, Kapila, Swambhu, Manu, Prahlad, Janak Maharaj, that was the father of Sita in Ram Lila, grandfather Bhishma, Bali Maharaj, Sukadev Goswami, and Yamaraj. They know the real religious principles, because these religious principles so they are coming Vede Pranito Dharmo Yadharmastat Viparya Veda Narina Sakshat Svambur iti Susrama. That which is described in the Vedas, these are the religious principles. And the opposite of that is a religion. And the Vedas are directly coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and are self-born. This is what the Yamadutas heard from Yamaraj, and they explained it to the Vishnu Dutas. So, what was the purpose of leaving his home? Kardama Muni states, that while traveling all over the world as a mendicant, he should always remember the Supreme Personality of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, and therefore be freed from all anxieties of material existence. If you always remember the Supreme your Lord in your heart, you are always with Krishna. You are also with Krishna. So he did not really leave Kardama Muni. He kept him in his heart. He was still with him. And at the end of this purport, and the last verse in Kali Yuga, can someone read that last paragraph of the purport, please?
In Kali Yuga, the injunction is that no one should accept sannyas. Of course, those who actually follow the rules and regulations must take sannyas. Generally, however, people are unable to accept sannyas life, and therefore Lord Chaitanya stressed, Kalau nasti eva nasti eva nasti eva gadiranyata. In this age, there is no other alternative, no other alternative than to chant the holy name of Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. The main purpose of sannyas life is to be in constant companion with the Supreme Lord, either by thinking of Him within the heart or hearing of Him through oral reception. In this age, hearing is more important than thinking because one's thinking may be disturbed by mental agitation. But if one concentrates on hearing, he will be forced to associate with the sound vibration of Krishna. Krishna and the sound vibration Krishna are non-different. So, if one loudly vibrates Hare Krishna, he will be able to think of Krishna immediately. The process of chanting is the best process of self-realization in this age. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya preached it so nicely for the benefit of all humanity.
Thank you, Achapul. I just, because that could be one of the questions on your exam, or it's in your data bank, I think. So I repeat the answer in very short, that although Kardama Muni, Supreme Personality of Godhead, appeared as his son, he had to respect the Vedas. And the Vedas says he has to take Vanaprastha sannyas after married life, when the children are grown up. So the second point is that he was wandering about and was always thinking of the Supreme Personality of Godhead within himself. So he remained in association with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart. So he did not really leave in that sense. So being that clarified, now we will hear in text 36 the purpose of Lord Kapila's appearance. Etan me janma lokesmin mamokshunam durasayat pashankyanaya tattvanam samattayat madakshane. My appearance in this world is especially to explain the philosophy of Sankhya, which is highly esteemed for self-realization by those desiring freedom from the entanglement of unnecessary desires. So he came to explain the Sankhya philosophy. Srila Prabhupada explains, human society should be very seriously understand that the body itself is a source of all miserable life. That In Bhagavad Gita it's mentioned that these bodies are destined to be destroyed. The soul is eternal, but the body is not eternal. So, but for our activities, we must have a body. That without a body, without sense organs, there can be no activities. But people are not inquiring whether it is possible to have an eternal body, Srila Prabhupada writes. The Sankhya philosophy is designed to afford understanding the real truth. The real truth is knowledge of how to get out of the material body, which is the source of all trouble. Lord Kapila's incarnation or descent is especially meant for this purpose. By that we can also understand why Srila Prabhupada wanted to publish the teachings of Lord Kapila Dev as a separate book. A separate book because everyone who reads it will understand how to get out of this material entanglement. And it's mentioned for this purpose. 37. Esha atmapato vyakto nastakalena bhuyasa tam pravartaitum deham imam vidimaya vritam. Someone can read the translation, please.
This path of self-realization, which is difficult to understand, has now been lost in the course of time. Please know that I have assumed this body of Kapila to introduce and explain this philosophy to human society again.
Thank you. So it means Sankhya is not a new system of philosophy. It's not mental speculation. It's factual. At the time of Kapila, it was lost. In Bhagavad Gita, we are here also, the same thing that Krishna says, yes, this knowledge was lost, but therefore I tell it to you again. And it's for this purpose that the incarnation of Godhead comes. Yadaidai dharmasya glanirvavta bharata bhutanama dharmastatatmam chichamyam. Whenever and wherever there's a decline in religious principles, the Lord appears to re-establish this knowledge. So, religious systems not in line with devotional service, they are called here adharma samstapana. When people forget their eternal relationship with God and engage in something other than devotional service, they are engaging in irreligion. How can one get out of the material condition of material life? It's mentioned in the Sankhya philosophy, and the Lord himself is explaining here this sublime system. Text 38. Kacha kamam maya pishto mai sanyasta karmana chitva sudurjayam rityam amritatvaya kalamam bhajam. Can someone read the translation, please?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Please read, yes.
May I ask a question here?
Well, we can ask the question after the presentation. That's the last part. We have 1 hour more for questions.
Okay, Maharaj. I'm not down.
Good. Can someone read the translation, please? 38.
Now being sanctioned by me, go as you desire, surrendering all your activities to me, conquering insurmountable death, worship me for eternal life.
Mm-hmm. So, it is said, Srila Prabhupada writes, the purpose of Sankhya philosophy is stated herein. If anyone wants real eternal life, he has to engage himself in devotional service of Krishna consciousness, to become free from death and birth and death is not an easy task. Actually, human life is meant for conquering the insurmountable problem of birth, of death. For this, one must engage in devotional service. Man manabhav madbhakto machi mam namaskaram. Without Krishna's mercy, one cannot understand the Sankhya philosophy or any philosophy which is meant for liberation. You need Krishna's mercy. Sankhya means that factual knowledge by which one can get out of the material entanglement. This is the same points again. Text 39. Mam atmanam svayam jyoti sarvabhuta godasayam atmanevatmana vikshya vishoko bhayam richati. Someone read the translation, please. And also read the translation and the first paragraph of the purport.
I can read again, Maharaj.
Please, thank you.
In your own heart, through your intellect, you will always see me, the Supreme Self-Effulgent Soul, dwelling within the hearts of all living entities. Thus you will achieve the state of eternal life, free from all lamentation and fear. People are very anxious to understand the absolute truth in various ways, especially by experiencing the Brahma Jyoti or Brahman effulgence, by meditation and by mental speculation. But Kapil Dev uses the word Mam to emphasize that the personality of Godhead is the ultimate feature of the absolute truth. In the Bhagavad Gita, the personality of Godhead always says Mam, unto me. But the rascals misinterpret the clear meaning. Mam is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If one can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as he appears in different incarnations, and understand that he has not assumed a material body but is present in his own eternal spiritual form, then one can understand the nature of the Personality of Godhead. Since the less intelligent cannot understand this point, it is stressed everywhere again and again. Simply by seeing the form of the Lord as he presents himself by his own internal potency, as Krishna or Rama or Kapila, one can directly see the Brahma Jyoti, because the Brahma Jyoti is no more than the effulgence of his bodily luster. Since the sunshine is the luster of the sun planet, by seeing the sun one automatically sees the sunshine. Similarly, by seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one simultaneously sees and experiences the Paramatma feature as well as the impersonal Brahman feature of the Supreme.
Thank you. Vedanta tattva vidas tattvam jnanam apvayam brahmeti paramat peti bhagavaniti sapyate. So the learned transcendentalists have concluded that the Absolute Truth has three features, Brahman, Paramatma and Bhagavan. But what's mentioned here is, when we see Bhagavan, the Supreme Person, realizes automatically Paramatma and Brahman. Because Paramatma is his local aspect in everyone's heart, his all-pervading aspect, and Brahman is his effulgence, his energy. So simply by understanding and by seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one realizes all these aspects. And the result is that one becomes situated on a transcendental platform and comes free from lamentation and fear. So that can be attained by devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That text 40. Matra atyatim atmikim vidyam samanim sarvakarmanam vittarisye chayatsaso vayam sati tarishyati. This text 40. Can someone read the translation?
I shall also describe the sublime knowledge, which is the door to spiritual life, to my mother, so that she also can attain perfection and self-realization, ending all reactions to fruitive activities. Thus, she also will be free from all material fear.
Thank you, Mother Lila Madhuri. A very nice example is given here that the husband goes away and he takes sannyas for attaining self-realization, but his representative, his son, is equally educated. He remains at home to deliver his mother. So that Kardama Muni is an example of someone who followed strict Vedic injunctions that no one in sannyas life can have any relationship with women. But now, do we all have to go to the forest? That's discussed in text 41. Maitreya uvacha eham samuditaste na kapilena pajapati dakshini kritya tamprito vanam eva jagamaha. Someone can read, please. Translation.
Shri Maitreya said, thus when Kartamba Muni, the progenitor of human society, was spoken to in fullness by his son Kapila, he circumambulated him, and with a good pacified mind, he at once left for the forest. Hare Krishna.
Yeah. Srila Prabhupada starts his purport by saying, going to the forest is compulsory for everyone. That everyone should go to the forest by at least taking vanaprastha. That the forest, what does it mean, going to the forest? It means that one must take 100% shelter of the Supreme Lord. Prahlad Maharaj advises his father. His father did not like the advice, but he should accept it. Tat sadhimanye suryavarya deinam samasamat vishya diyam misaghat itvatma padam khyamandakopan vanam kotaya tarim asrayita. So Prahlad Maharaj is speaking to his father and he's very polite. He says, Tat sadhu manye suryavarya deinam, O best of the asuras, king of the demons. Full name, king of the demons, Suryavarya Deinam. As far as I learned from my spiritual master, anyone who has accepted a temporary body and temporary household life is certainly embarrassed by anxiety, and having fallen in a dark well, where there is no water, but only suffering. One should give up this position and go to the forest of Vana. More clearly, one should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and should take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So it is said in the verse, Varnam Gatoya Darimasrita. It's Varnam that, yes, Srila Prabhupada translates as the forest of Vrindavan. One should go to Vrindavan, where only Krishna consciousness is prevalent, and thus take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, that is his explanation to his father. Itvatma padam hyananda kapam means we have to get out of family life. Without Krishna consciousness, it's just like a blind well. Take to Krishna consciousness and become free from material and entanglement. I'm sure you will have questions about that after the end of this presentation. Text 42. Vatam sastito manam atmaika sharanam muni ishanga vyashat kshonim anachnir aniketana. Can someone please read the translation.
The sage Kardama accepted silence as a vow in order to think of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and take shelter of Him exclusively. Without association, he traveled over the surface of the globe as a sannyasi, devoid of any relationship with fire or shelter.
So the point here is, with this, in the beginning of this lesson, we said there was a second point we have to give attention to in this section. That Kardama Muni is going to the forest, takes Vanaprastha. But what are his activities? What is he now doing when he goes to the forest? Sitting and meditating? That we hear now about his activities. And if someone can read the first paragraph, here the first paragraph of this purport.
Read Maharaj.
Please.
Here the words Anagnir Aniketanaha are very significant. A sannyasi should be completely detached from fire and any residential quarters. Grihastha has a relationship with fire, either for offering sacrifices or for cooking. But a sannyasi is freed from these two responsibilities. He does not have to cook or offer fire for sacrifice because he is always engaged in Krishna consciousness. Therefore, he has already accomplished all ritualistic performances of religion. Aniketanaha means without lodging. He should not have his own house, but should depend completely on the Supreme Lord for his food and lodging. He should travel.
So, yeah. So, sannyasi does not cook on fire in the Vedic system. And yes, should not have his own house, should travel depending on Krishna. That and then Srila Prabhupada speaks about mauna, silence. Can someone read the second paragraph about mauna?
Mauna means silence. Unless one becomes silent, he cannot think completely about the pastimes and activities of the Lord. It is not that because one is a fool and cannot speak nicely, he therefore takes the vow of Mauna. Rather, one becomes silent so that people will not disturb him. It is said by Chanakya Pandita that a rascal appears very intelligent as long as he does not speak. But speaking is the test. The so-called silence of a silent impersonalist Swami indicates that he has nothing to say. He simply wants to beg. But the silence adapted by Kardama Muni was not like that. He became silent for relief from nonsensical talk. One is called a Muni when he remains grave and does not talk nonsense. Maharaja Amrisha set a very good example. Whenever he spoke about the pastimes of the Lord. Mauna necessitates refraining from non-essential talking and engaging the talking facility in the pastimes of the Lord. In that way, one can chant and hear about the Lord in order to perfect his life. Vritam means that one should take a vow as explained in Bhagavad Gita, amanitvam, adambitavam, without hankering for personal respect and without being proud of one's material position. Ahimsa means not being violent. There are 18 processes for attaining knowledge and perfection, and by his vow, Kadamba Muni adopted all the principles of self-realization. Hare Krishna.
Srila Prabhupada refers here also to chapter 13, verses 8 to 12 25 items of knowledge, and he practiced them all. That good. We will now, because it's now 6:28. We will have a post till 6:40 p.m. And at 6:40 p.m. we will continue for 50 minutes, finishing the section, and then have questions. Thank you. Hare Krishna, we will continue with text 43 and 44. That, let's see. So text 43 and 44, they are describing the practices. What did Kardama Muni do when he took vanaprastha, sannyas? What did he do? And because it's important to know what he did, because his activities led him to the perfection. So first, text 43. Mano brahmanis yunyanyo yattat sat asata param huna vabhasi vihuna ekabhakyanubhavite. Can someone read the translation of 43, please?
He fixed his mind upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for a Brahman who is beyond cause and effect, who manifests the three modes of material nature, who is beyond those three modes, and who is perceived only through unfailing devotional service. Hare Krishna.
So he was fixing his mind on the personal feature of the Absolute Truth. The personal feature, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, of the Parabrahman. He was not fixing his mind on Brahman, but on Parabrahman, which is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what was the result of fixing his mind on the personal feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead? By that he was Gunabhavase, it is said here. Gunabhavase. Guna avabhase. He was not affected by the gunas. He was beyond them. That param guna bhase. Param guna avabhase. Beyond the modes of nature. He was not affected by the modes of material nature. So if one is in constant contact with the Supreme Lord by devotional service, the conditioning living entity also becomes free from the infection of Maya. We become free from Maya. Of course, we know that. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 14:26, Mamsya vyabhicharana bhaktiyorana sevate Sakanat samatichitam brahmabhuya kalpate. One by pure and always devotion, one at once transcends the modes of nature. Sagunan samitchetam. The guna sagunan samitchetam transcends. That. So that's the first thing, is fixing his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then text 44. Nirahankritir nirmanascha nirtvandva samadrik svadrik pratyak prashanta dirtira prashanto mir ivo dahi. Can someone read, please?
Thus, he gradually became unaffected by the false ego of material identity and became free from material affection. Undisturbed, equal to everyone, and without duality, he could indeed see himself also. His mind was turned inward and was perfectly calm, like an ocean unagitated by waves.
That was the effect of fixing his mind on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He became free from false ego. His material identity was gone. That he became free from material affection. He became equal to everyone. No duality of good and bad, or attachment of aversion, no. And he could see himself. Can someone read the purport, please?
Maharaj, may I read?
Yes, please.
When one's mind is in full Krishna consciousness and one fully engages in rendering devotional service to the Lord, he becomes just like an ocean, unagitated by waves. This very example is also cited in Bhagavad Gita. One should become like the ocean. The ocean is filled by many thousands of rivers, and millions of tons of its water evaporates into clouds. Yet the ocean is the same unagitated ocean. The laws of nature may work, but if one is fixed in devotional service at the lotus feet of the Lord, he is not agitated, for he is introspective. He does not look outside to material nature, but he looks into the spiritual nature of his existence. With a sober mind, he simply engages in the service of the Lord. Thus, he realizes his own self without false identification with matter and without affection for material possessions. Such a great devotee is never in trouble with others because he sees everyone from the platform of spiritual understanding. He sees himself and others in the right perspective. Hare Krishna.
Yes, thank you. So that's 1 to 20, Srimad Bhagavatam. Evam Pransamanaso Bhagavat Bhakti Yogata Bhagavatatva Vijnana Mukta Sanghasya Jayate. That's the process to attain to transcend the modes of nature. That by devotional service, the mind becomes enlivened by contact of devotional service. One gets knowledge, realized knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And then what happens, and many of these qualities we find here related to Vidya Teridaya Krantis Sityanti Sarva Samsya Ksyanti Sasya Sarvane Tristva Evat Maneshvari. Tristva Evat Maneshvari means one sees the self and the super self. That so he could indeed see himself also. That's interesting. That is the result. One sees Krishna, but also one's real self. So there is no false ego. And there is no tendency to exploit anymore. That's all gone. One sees everything as a spirit soul. Vidyavanaya Sampane Brahmana Kavastin Sunshev Svapagase Pandada Samadakshan. And no good and bad in terms of material attachment and aversion. It's all gone. So that was the result. So 43 is the main practice, fixing his mind. And 44, speaks about the results of that. And now 45. Vasudevi Bhagavati Sarvajne Pratyah Atmani Parena Bhaktivavana Ladatma Mukta Bandhana. Thus, he became liberated from material condition and became self-situated in devotional service to the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, the omniscient super soul within everyone. So, in this purport, a few very important points are mentioned for us. First, I read the first part first. When one engages in the transcendental service of the Lord, one becomes aware that his constitutional position as an individual soul is to be eternally a servitor of the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. So that's mentioned, that is an explanation of he could see himself also. And then material contamination continues as long as one thinks that he is as good as the Supreme Lord or is equal with him. Parabhakti, full consciousness that one is an eternal servant of the Lord. Vida Bhakti is contaminated Bhakti, execution of devotional service with identification with material things. So that in the last paragraph, this is mentioned here, second paragraph in the middle, there the differentiation is made between Parabhakti and Vida Bhakti. Pure Bhakti or contaminated Bhakti. In pure Bhakti, one sees oneself as a servant of the Lord and only want to serve the Lord. Yeah. Shanmani Shamamishvare Bhavata Bhakti Ahait Kitvai. Lord Chaitanya said, yes, my only desire is unalloyed devotional service to the Lord's lotus feet, birth after birth. It does not want liberation. It does not want anything from the Lord. It just wants to serve Him. That if you want liberation or you want to be released from suffering, that is Vida Bhakti, contaminated Bhakti. Yeah. But to actually one becomes liberated by Parabhakti. That's the point made here. That's something we need to consider in our practice. That so we will. Can someone read the last paragraph of the purport here? Another word mentioned here is.
Yes, Maharaj.
Please.
Another word mentioned here is Sarvajne. The super soul sitting within the heart is all cognizant. He knows I may forget my past activities due to change of body, but because the Supreme Lord is Paramatma is sitting within me, He knows everything. Therefore, the result of my past karma or past activities is awarded to me. I may forget, but He awards me suffering or enjoyment for the misdeeds or good deeds of my past life. I should not think that he is freed from reaction because he has forgotten the actions of his past life. The reactions will take place, and what kind of reaction they will be is judged by the super soul, the witness.
Yes, Sarvajya, supreme justice. We get reactions of our own past deeds, and it's not that because we don't remember them, that it's unfair. No, it's supreme justice. That the reaction comes Sarvihya. 46. Atmanam sarvabhuteshu bhagavantam avashtitam apasyat sarvabhutani bhagavat apichatmani. Can someone read the translation and the purport? In the purport, 3 kinds of devotees are described.
He began to see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is seated in everyone's heart and that everyone is existing on Him because He is the super soul of everyone. That every purport, that everyone is existing on the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not mean that everyone is also Godhead. This is also explained in Bhagavad Gita. Everything is resting on Him, the Supreme Lord. But that does not mean that the Supreme Lord is also everywhere. This mysterious position has to be understood by highly advanced devotees. There are 3 kinds of devotees: the neophyte devotees, the intermediate devotees, and the advanced devotee. The neophyte devotee does not understand the techniques of devotional science, but simply offers devotional service to the deity in the temple. The intermediate devotee does understands who God is, who is a devotee, who is a non-devotee, and who is innocent, and he deals with such persons differently. But a person who sees that the Lord is sitting as Paramatma in everyone's heart, and that everything is depending on existing on the transcendental energy of the Supreme Lord is in the highest devotional position.
So
Hare Krishna.
thank you. These are these 3 kinds of devotees that, and yes, that, so it said he began to see that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is seated in everyone's heart, and that everyone is existing on him because he's the super soul of everyone. So you can also see that to Shastra Shakshu. If you study the Gita and you see how Krishna's capability in man, how Krishna is the doer of all activities and the soul only desires, how Krishna empowers someone or disempowers someone, one can see the super soul in action in this world through knowledge. But here it is mentioned that, this is factually spiritual vision, that by transcending the modes, that so this mysterious position has to be understood by highly advanced devotees. So only this Uttamadikar, the most advanced, who sees Krishna everywhere, can understand this. Text 47. Itvadveshi vihinena sarvata samaseta sa Bhagavat Bhakti Uktana Prapta Bhagavati Gata. So Kardamamuni leaves. Can someone read the translation and Srila Prabhupada's concluding words of the chapter in the purport?
Freed from all hatred and desire. Freed from all hatred and desire. Kardama Muni, being equal to everyone because of discharging uncontaminated devotional service, ultimately attained the path back to God. Purport. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, only by devotional service can one understand the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord, and after understanding Him perfectly in His transcendental position, enter into the kingdom of God. The process of entering into the kingdom of God is Tripada Bhutikati, or the path back home, back to God, by which one can attain the ultimate goal of life. Kardama Muni, by his perfect devotional knowledge and service, achieved this ultimate goal, which is known as Bhagavati Gati, Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports of the third canto, 24th chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Renunciation of Kardamamuni.
So the process of entering in the Tripada Bhutikati. Tripada is 3/4 of everything that exists of the kingdom of God is the spiritual world, and 1/4 the material worlds. So if we want to go to this Tripada Bhuti, if we want to go there, that we have to follow the footsteps of Kardama Muni. So that is the end of chapter 24. That in the next chapter Kardama Muni will start his teachings to Mother Devahuti, and that's probably one of the most important chapters of the entire Srimad Bhagavatam. So many key verses are there that so any questions, please?
That is very interesting. Last verse is Ichha Dvesh Vihinena in Bhakti Gita Krishna. And here is he went home by becoming free from hatred and desire.
Yeah.
And Lord Krishna in Bhagavad Gita says Ichha Dvesh Samuthena.
Samutana.
One comes to birth and death because of Ichha and Dvesh. So we saw Krishna talking about why we come to birth and death, and here we are seeing how one goes out of birth and death. Very nice.
Yeah, that shows how the Bhagavatam is complementary to the Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavatam starts where Bhagavad Gita ends, and Sarvadharma Prachyamam Kamcham Vaja. Give up all these cheating religions. And in the second verse of the first canto, chapter 1, Projita Kaitava Dharma, giving up this cheating religion, and this real religion of devotion service, explained by Kapila Dev, explains us how to give up this ichha-dvesha, attachment and aversion. Thank you, Achapara. Any other?
Maharaj, here we see Karma Muni leaving home, leaving the supremacy of Godhead, and wondering about and thinking of him.
Yeah.
Which is actually all nice. But in the other situations, like we had Nanda Maharaj or Vasudev, they had also access to Krishna, but they did not follow this injunction of the Vedic literature. Maybe they were in Kshatriya, or Vaishya dharma. That's why I'm just wondering why, how is it different? They did not take sannyas, but here Kardama Muni took sannyas.
Well, I think, of course, this personal associates of the Lord, these personal associates, they are fully Krishna conscious. They are above the rules and regulations. That Kardama Muni gave the example here that the Pandavas, yes, they were Kshatriyas, and Kshatriyas at a certain time they have to take Vanaprastha. That's true. And you don't see that in the Mahabharata. You don't see that there. But for them, they are fully Krishna conscious, they are Krishna's eternal associates. It's not applicable for them directly. Yeah. But anyway, it's stressed here. These are instructions for us, and we should follow them. Get out at a certain moment and take Vanaprastha. Of course, this Vanaprastha, that means you can take Vanaprastha a man, a husband and wife together and go to a holy place and serve. And serve both separately, but that's the point that Srila Prabhupada makes in the purport here, that you must engage yourself 100% in Krishna conscious activities. Get out of the entanglement of material life, and that's most important. The formal external form, that's something else. Of course, the Pandavas, they didn't need to take Vanaprastha to engage 100% in Krishna's service. It doesn't make sense. They were already on that level. Yeah. Does that help, Chapan? Okay. So,
Thank you, Maharaj.
someone else, please. Any questions?
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Yes.
Maharaj, here my question is why Kapil Muni has presented the Sankhya Yoga when it is not in line with the bhakti.
That Sankhya Yoga is only about bhakti. We will see in the next chapter that it is Sankhya from the atheistic Kapila. That's something else. That is for the Jnanis. But it is an imperfect system. But we will see the next chapter. The explanation of Sankhya Yoga begins. And what's the title of the chapter? The Glories of Devotional Service. Because that is Sankhya. Sankhya analyzes things. It analyzes who Krishna is, who we are, and then we can understand our relationship, which is devotional service. And that devotional service is going to change your desire for fruitive activities is annihilated. That only bhakti can do that. So that's the real Sankhya philosophy. And that we will hear in the next chapter, because there the explanation of Sankhya Yoga begins. We have only heard until now the purpose. The purpose is to become free from the attachment for fruitive activities. That an impersonal jnana cannot realize that. It cannot uproot the desire to exploit this world. It's not possible. That will be repeated in the 6th canto.
Maharaj, actually, I am asking in this context, this point, that Narad Muni has just cut all the ideas of Vyasadeva, whatever he has created, all the Vedas, all the Puranas, scriptures, and established the Parodharma. And here, Kapil Muni is establishing the Sankhya Yoga, not in terms of Parodharma, related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but not Parodharma. So, Lord, as we say, Yada Yada Dharma say. So, here Lord is establishing the Sankhya Yoga to giving some information in relevance to the Lord, not the higher understanding here. So, in this context, I wanted to know.
Yeah, but this context is not correct. That's what Kapila Dev comes to give. The real practice of this parodharma. Savai pamso parodharmo yato bhakti adoksham ahaitat apatiyata yatma shubhashidati. And that's the way to go free from one's attachment to fruitive activities. And what's the way to do that? We will hear next time that Pasangam Pasham Atmana Kavayovidu Saiva Sati Sukritur Muksat Varama Pavitam. That is Sankhya. That is the real Sankhya. That attachment to things in this material world is entanglement for the material soul, for the spirit soul. But attachment to the sadhu, to the pure devotee of Krishna, is the cause for liberation. And sadhu is described in the next verse, you will see. That's the famous verse, the Tiksha Vakarunika, and so on. All the qualities of a sadhu are described. And then, what do we have to, how do we associate with such a sadhu? Sotam prasanga mamavira samvidoba vandrit karna rasayana kata tatyosna tabavarya vartmanishra dharatyark bhakti anukramishati. Sotam, the pure devotees. Sotam prasangam, we have to become attached to the pure devotees. Mamavira samvido, and hear from them the powerful pastimes of the Supreme Lord. Bhavantrit karna rasayana kata. Then we hear that to the ear, the karna, and go to the heart. And there we enjoy that because we come in touch with our natural spiritual consciousness of the soul. And then Shraddha, then you are on the path of liberation, that your heart is purified of this heart knots of material attachment. You get faith, you become attracted, and you surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. These three verses is the essence of Sankhya Yoga. That's understanding who we are. We are different from matter, but the ordinary Sankhya Yoga explains that we are Brahman, but not a body. But it does not explain that we are a part of Parabrahman and the servant of Parabrahman. It's incomplete. It's concerned with Brahman, with Paramatma, Bhagavan realization. It's not there. But the Sankhya is also concerned with that. Without understanding the whole picture, we cannot understand our relationship with Krishna. So that's really the analytical study of this world and of transcendence. That's real analytical study, and that's complete. And that's the right Sankhya. That many have become attached to the so-called Sankhya of the impersonalist, and it's poison. That's poison for the heart. Does that help? Anarpita Kripa Moyan? Problem?
Because we can understand this like this. As earlier we have read about these 24 elements. What are these elements? And these elements belongs to the Lord. The purpose of this is this is like a place where we learn how to develop love for the Lord, and we are not. We do not belong to these items. Plus, here in this context in Sankhya Yoga, we understand this. We are separate from them. So, this analytical study we will realize here. We are separate from them, and in this world we have to learn how to develop love for the God. To teach this message, Kapila Muni has come.
Well, to teach, we have heard the purpose is to get rid from our attachment to fruitive activities and get liberation. That's a purpose. But the study is concerned with 24 elements plus the 25th element, which is the soul, 26th element, the super soul, and then we must understand that the super soul is a part of Bhagavan. So that without that in the picture, we cannot get the entire puzzle solved. So we must count all elements, not just the 24, and I'm different from that.
So this is complete 26 elements are complete Sankhya Yoga.
Yeah, because then we can understand the purpose of the Vedas. Purpose of the Vedas is three things. That in the first part of the Vedas, of the Vedantas, like the Vedanta Sutra or the Brahma Sutras, have 4 books. And it's a summary of the Vedas. And the first book is about Sambandha Jnana, understanding who Parabrahman is, Krishna, who we are, and what our relationship is. And the second and third book is about Abhideya, how to engage in that relationship. And the fourth book is Prayojan, the goal, Krishna. Vedasa Sarvarameva Vedya. Right? Krishna is to be known by the Vedas, nothing else. And without considering this, one cannot understand just by the study of material elements who we are, and what our relationship with Krishna is. That's incomplete. And you see that also in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Sarvadam Prajna, give up these yogis. Because even if the jnani gets perfection, what does he get by this perfection? He realizes I'm Brahman. And what then? You remain in Brahman, whereas there is no activity. It's boring after some time. No suffering, but boring. You cannot enter the spiritual world, because to go to the spiritual world you must have Ananya Bhakti. You come back to this material world. So it is useless. And the yogi, if not deviated by mystic powers, they get to know the super soul, get in contact with the super soul. And what then? Yes, the super soul is a controller, but they remain here. They don't go anywhere. You need Ananya Bhakta to go back to the spiritual world. So that is the point. And this Sankhya Yoga of what Kapila points directly. The analysis of the elements and understanding the difference and so on, it's meant for that purpose. And that purpose you can learn from a sadhu. And this sadhu must be a satam, a pure devotee, who engages you in hearing the pastimes of Krishna. Because when we hear these pastimes, we get to know who Krishna is. We get to know, and then when we know something about Krishna, we can start to understand our own nature and our relationship. Without knowing Krishna, we cannot. And that's also pointed out here by what Kapila did. Does that help?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Someone else, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. There's some confusion in my mind. I just wanted to ask and see if in this situation where Kadama Muni leaves to find renunciation or to completely absorb himself in the personality of Godhead, that he's leaving behind the Supreme Personality of Godhead, physically speaking, because the son is born. Then we see that he has to follow the process. Then another example was in the 10th canto when the Brahmana Patnis had darshan of the Supreme Lord, when they brought the bhoga to him. And then they wanted to stay, and he said, "No, you cannot stay. That's not the way to get me. The way is you have to go and follow the process of darshan and follow the process of, singing my glories and so on." And then there's a third episode of where Uddhava is talking about the misfortune of the Yadu dynasty, where he said, and even more unfortunate are the members of the Yadu dynasty because they could not identify Lord Hari as a personality of Godhead any more than the fish could identify. So my point is that impossibility of actually getting the Supreme Lord, even while being in his association. Is it related to a different approach to this, to how to obtain the Lord, or is it related to a particular rasa or a particular understanding of Paramatma or the Supreme Lord? What is it really related to? In the case you can see for the Brahmana Patni, there may be so many of them and each one of them may have a different relationship. But Kardama Muni, he had a relationship with the Supreme Lord since, always, because he was a devotee. And then here, the Yadus, they have Krishna in the midst, but they couldn't identify him as the Supreme Lord. So what is the difference or the commonality we have to look at here?
You mentioned a lot of points, and my answer may quite be long, because each point you said practically needs some clarification. That first, you speak about the Yadus. Who were the Yadus? The Yadus were demigods before. We see Krishna, when Bhumi went to Brahma, and Brahma went to the ocean of milk, that Svetadvip, and was meditating on the Supreme Lord. Then he got a message, and the Lord said, ask all the demigods to take birth in the Yadu dynasty and to help me. So most of these Yadus were demigods. And demigods, they have a realization of Vishnu in the heart of everyone as a super soul. But they don't have the Bhagavan realization. So they all saw Krishna as all-pervading super soul, Kshirodakashai Vishnu. That was their experience. But Uddhav, who was a pure devotee, was also living in Dwarka, and he said yes, that he felt sorry for these Yadus. He said, because he was sometimes, Uddhav was, when blue clouds would come over the Vaivarta hill, and he saw these blue clouds which had the complexion of Krishna's form, he started to dance in ecstasy. And all these Yadus were thinking, this Uddhav is a little mad. But Uddhav was thinking about these Yadus, that they are like the moon. The moon, he said they are like the fish in the water. The fish in the water sees the light of the moon but cannot understand who the moon is. All these Yadus are living with Krishna, but they cannot understand who Krishna is. Because they were demigods, they were not pure devotees. They had still some, of course there were exceptions there. Balaram was also living in Dwarka. Uddhav was living in Dwarka. And you had also that Akrura was living. There were pure devotees, but there were only few that. And then the Patnis, the Brahma Patnis, the wives of the Brahmins. Yes, Krishna said to them, you have to go home and perform your sadhana, assist your husbands, and then, because then you will think of me. And thinking of me is the same as being with me. And he said the same to to the gopis when they came for the rasa dance in the middle of the night. He was preaching. He was preaching to them Jnana. He said, "Yes, you should meditate on me from within the heart, and you should be with your husbands at home." And that of course that didn't work for the gopis, but it's reality, because later on these gopis went to Kurukshetra at solar eclipse, and they met Krishna. And Krishna met with them in a solitary place also, with Uddhav was there. And he was consoling them. And Krishna told them, when you were so absorbed in separation from me, I was in your mind, I was there. And that's the same as being with me. But you did not realize it. So that's the point. Gautama Muni, he is leaving, he does not leave to follow the process to get perfection. He was already at that perfection. But it's for our example this time. So he left, but he was always thinking of Krishna. And that's the point. If we become advanced, and we have attained Nishtha, studying devotional service, we are free from our anarthas, then Ruchi comes, we become attracted, then Ashakti. Ashakti is transcendental television. So if we chant and we can meditate on Krishna constantly, so by Krishna's mercy, he will reveal himself within the heart. He will reveal first his form, then his qualities, his sweetness. And then after that, he will reveal his beauty and how he's not alone. You will see Krishna is in the spiritual world. You will see the parrots. You will see the kalpavriksha trees and so on. And then you will see Krishna's pastimes in the heart. And that is, you are entering aprakat lila, direct association with the Lord within the heart. So that is important to understand, that pure devotees are always carrying Krishna in the heart and are absorbed in his pastimes, which Krishna is revealing. And that's not different of being in his presence. So, and that's the point made here. And that will become more clear, because I studied these chapters deeply in the 10th canto with the Bhaktivedanta students. And that comes again and again and again, that the difference between prakat and aprakat lila is explained there. Does that help, Advaita Krishna?
So we may deduce that purification of the heart and the mind and coming to Ashakti, where you can actually have experience of the Supreme Lord, of his pastimes, of his glories, of his name, is more important than close proximity and coming from an angle of, for example, like the demigods.
Yes, it's the same. It's non-different of being in Krishna's proximity, because Krishna is everywhere, and we can everywhere come in contact with Krishna when our heart is pure. And Srila Prabhupada many times told us, these are not my books, Krishna has dictated his books to me. It means he was directly in contact with Krishna, who dictated him. But it's a high level, and hopefully in one lifetime we can get to that level. But it's not cheap to attain that, or we can imagine of being there, but the fact-like experience is ecstatic.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing, and it's kind of hard to reconcile, is how the Devatas, long association with Krishna and Dwarka, and with Abhay saying it is so unfortunate that they couldn't see the Supreme Personality of Godhead. They only saw Paramatma.
Yeah, but that is explained today. We explained about Parabhakti, full consciousness that we are a servant of the Lord and nothing else. And Vida Bhakti is contaminated Bhakti. And so these demigods were Sakam. Their desire was not fully to please the Lord without something in return. They still wanted to control. And that hampers them to know the Lord really as he is. Therefore,
That's nice. That's really nice.
yeah,
But Maharaj, I also had a question about this Vidha Bhakti.
yeah.
Because it's not Vaidhi Bhakti, is it? Or is it
No,
the same?
Vida Bhakti is called, yeah. Vida.
Is it?
Contaminated.
Yeah.
Vida means
Contaminated.
contaminated, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's contaminated with material desire. It's not Anya Bilastas Yunyam Jnanakamata Navitam Anukulena Krishna Nusilanam Bhakti. It's not pure devotion service. That's.
But it's not also the same as mixed bhakti, is it? Or it's a different category?
No,
Because the term is very confusing, Vidha Bhakti.
Yeah, but the mixed bhakti, then automatically the question comes, what kind of mix? You have Jnana Mishra Bhakti, Karma Mishra Bhakti, so you have different mixtures. You are contaminated with a desire for liberation, or you are contaminated with a desire still to enjoy a position or whatever. And that's, yeah. But even, we have also the verse, of course, we have heard that before. Akama Savakama Muksukama Udauti Trivena Bhakti Yoda Chaita Purushampram. It doesn't matter whether you are full of material desires, have no material desire, or you desire just liberation, that with great power you perform this devotional service and you will become purified. Finally, your desire will become purified. But the question is, and that is the key, you must want to become purified. You must want it. Because Krishna fulfills your desires. That if we want pure devotional service, therefore we should pray for devotional service and ask the Lord to take it away, like Prahlad Maharaj, we said the other day, was praying. Namaste asya vyavavavachnaka vanshvachadamska masyam randaya tamoga savyam avyamatmi brishyam kshram. O Lord Nrsimhadev, go in my heart with your sharp nails and take away these material desires. So you must desire it. That's important.
Thank you. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Any other points? Otherwise, we will tomorrow.
A question regarding the atheistic Kapila. So this Kapila, what time, time frame that this Kapila came, and where is his philosophy mentioned?
Well, Ajahn Prabhu, that I studied that also because I did a master's in Indian religion some time ago. And you have the yoga, I don't remember all the details, but you have the Ishvara Krishna is one of these impersonalists who is concerned also with the Yoga Sutras, and he uses this Sankhya philosophy, the atheistic Sankhya philosophy, and that, I think it's it's related to Ishvara Krishna, and that's the 5th century of this time of our modern time. So it's not so old. It's not so old also. It came up together with this study of the Yoga Sutras from Patanjali. And there that is mentioned and interpreted in an impersonal personal way. But like I said, I studied and I forgot. I don't know. I didn't find it because their theory, their Sankhya, begins with the creation. They explains that at a certain moment, the jiva came in contact with Maya. But how that the jiva came in contact with Maya, they cannot explain it because they don't have the history before of the creation. They start in the middle somewhere, and they say it's like someone looks in the mirror and sees his reflection and is attracted by the reflection or something. It doesn't make sense. It didn't make much sense to me because there are too much errors in that philosophy. But yeah, that's what I can say about it.
Thank you, Maharaj. And I noticed that this is actually refuted in the Vedanta Sutra,
Yeah.
the atheistic philosophy. So it means it must have been, sometime before the Vedanta Sutra was written.
Yeah, that I can't say what's mentioned in the Vedanta Sutra. But,
Thank you, Maharaj.
sure. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Very well.
Good. Anything else?
May I ask a question that is not from the today's class?
Yeah, if I can answer.
Maharaj, my question is from the Canto 1st, Chapter 1, Shloka number 4 and 5. These two slokas are, I'm not able to understand who has spoken these slokas.
Well, from the first canto?
First Canto, Chapter 1, 4 and 5. First three are the Mangalacharan.
Yeah.
After this Mangalacharan, 4th and 5th sloka. Who spoken these slokas? I do not recognize where this point was spoken.
So canto 1?
Canto 1, Chapter 1, sloka number 4 and 5.
So once in a holy place of Namisaranya, great sages headed by Sanaka assembled to perform a great 1,000 sacrifice for the satisfaction of the Lord and his devotees. One day after finishing their morning duties by burning a sacrificial fire and offering a seat of esteem to Srila Sutta Goswami, the great sages made inquiries with great respect about the following matter. Moment. I think it is in the first purport somewhere of the 111 that there Srila Prabhupada mentioned that Srila Vyasadeva wrote his first verses that I got it the other day where it said so it said purport of the first verse, obeisance unto the personality of Godhead Vasudeva, indirectly indicate that Lord Krishna, who is the divine son of Vasudeva and Devaki. This fact will be more explicitly explained in the text of this work. Srila Vyasadeva asserts herein that Sri Krishna, the original personality of Godhead, and all others are his direct and indirect expansions. But it was mentioned here that from the first verse of, I can't find it now, but it was mentioned that from the first verse the Bhagavatam is from Srila Vyasadeva.
Yes.
The point here is that Srila Vyasadeva, he was Trikalagya, he saw present, past, present and future. So he could see what was going to happen at Namasaranya, and he mentioned it from the beginning of the Bhagavatam. That because sometimes the question is, who wrote the first canto? And the answer is Srila Vyasadeva, because it's Trikalagya. And that's because in the Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva mentioned future incarnations. He got to also see that. So that is my understanding, but yeah, okay, it's in the introduction. Srila Prabhupada writes, the author of Srimad Bhagavatam, Srila Vyasadeva, first offers his respectful obeisance to the Param Satya. You see, the first verse is
Yes.
Janmadhyasya tom vertitaratas satis sabihas varat tena brahma hridaya adhikavye moyanti atsuryateyo vrimadam yatavitimayo yatrati samargas murisa svantastene katani nyastan kurakam satyam param dimai. So the param satyam is described, and Srila Prabhupada said the author has written it. Srila Vyasadeva has written this first verse. So why should he not have written the other verses? He's Trikalagya. So that's my understanding. That the entire first canto is also written by Srila Vyasadeva.
Maharaj, in the chapter 2, Shloka 1, it is stated Vyasadeva Uvacha.
Where?
In chapter 2, Shloka number 1, it is stated Vyasadeva Uvacha.
Yeah.
And there is described, when Vyasadeva is saying, it is stated Vyasadeva Uvacha, but here it is not clear.
Yeah. Yeah, but like I said, Vyasadeva Vacha, he has written the whole thing according to Srila Prabhupada in the introduction. But, from the first verse. But,
although it is not relevant to my bhakti,
please,
but question.
I didn't understand your last point.
Maharaj told, but just it is not relevant to my bhakti. This 4 and 5 sloka, just knowing who is the spokesperson. But this question was just asked, so I was thinking, so what to say?
Yeah, but who spoke it? That it can also be Srila Vyasadeva who just states the facts.
Okay.
But well, is it so important? I don't think so.
Yes, Maharaj. Yes, Maharaj. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. I'm seeing you tomorrow, and we will start hearing Sankhya the Sankhya of Lord Kapila Dev tomorrow. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you very much. Dandavat Pranam.